Yeah, you people are not harassing now. You're now harassing one small company that is doing whatever. Please, harass NNPCL, harass Nigeria LNG, harass who again? All the 500 and something other corporations of the federal government, and leave the young man alone.
After all, they say this year we should not agree.
Please, see, I get the point you are making, though. 650,000 barrels of a capacity refinery should be able to produce for the country and everything, and all of that is also...
About 6 million barrels of crude.
Supplied already. It's not for free. And hey, it's an organization that should be the pride of Nigeria. The same way the United States is proud of Apple, proud of Microsoft, proud of Google, and all of those things. We should have something to be proud of as well. So we are proud. But please, if you are going to harass anyone, start with the one that your government owns. Then
our government is part owner of this one now. So our government should be telling us what effect our money is going to have on this production that they say has happened.
You mean the government that said they said we couldn't do it? Now we have did it. Sorry, we have done it.
Oh God!
Please. Now that the refinery is operational, let's be happy. Do you know for how long
it's operational, but how does it affect our lives?
Did you hear what I said? It's a private company. What if he says, okay, tomorrow I'm not doing again?
Oh God!
What are you people going to do?
It's all right.
Port Harcourt. Sorry, Port Harcourt.
That was technically ready.
Worry?
Not ready at all.
Kaduna?
Not ready at all.
So those are the ones you should be asking questions about.
We're asking, we're not getting any answers.
Well, that's why you have 2 petroleum ministers of state. 2. So you can ask them all the questions that you want. Next question. But I believe that, the Dangote refineries, now that they were also, for what we even gathered, if memory serves me right, is that, they are still in the preliminary stage, the beginning stages of production. So, way ahead of the Port Harcourt refineries. We can only wait and hope that, the needful will be done. So, no need for harassment. Next item.
I am looking for something that somebody sent to me yesterday about the transport business and what is going on in that sector, especially all these, what are those things called? Those...
the hailing cabs?
Hailing cabs. Yes, so someone sent me something about that yesterday. I'm not going to mention the name of any company, but it seems that those who are involved in it don't actually make enough to make a living. They have to pay for the cars, they have to fuel the cars, they have to make returns.
They have to pay for the car?
Well, the cars are on... hire purchase or something.
There's only one company that does that in Nigeria that I know of for now, that they use it for. That's Lagos, right? I think that's the only one that, unless there is another one in another state. Uber, you have to bring your own car, and which other ones, both the rest of them, you have to bring your own cars.
There we go. It says, if a captain, that's a driver, makes 40,000 naira from driving for 10 hours minimum, and an average of 17,000 will be spent on fuel, asset deduction, which is payback for the car, will be 8,950, and 20% of 40,000, which is 8,000, is also removed, leaving the captain with a paltry 5,000 naira. And that is if he doesn't even have a meal on that day, he will take home 5,000 naira.
How will he have a meal on 5,000 naira? And that is if he goes home. Because unless memories, unless, if I'm getting it right, I understand that some people, on that, plan, because I talked about it yesterday on Sunrise Daily. Mm-hmm. And it's a good idea. I mean, the Lagos Ride concept is a fantastic idea. You own a car, you pay for it for 4 years while you are still running it.
Yeah.
The initial agreement, if I get it right, was that government will also, the company managing it for Lagos State government and the people will also be the ones in charge of servicing and everything. That is perhaps why you haven't seen any Lagos Ride vehicle that's looking haggard.
They're all looking still brand new.
It's still brand new and everything. So, but if this thing that you're saying is anything to go by, because I heard the same rumor as well, I'm wondering how the relevant authorities are speaking to it. Because, yes, you wanted to? Yes.
Regarding what you said about the servicing, the agreement was that the cars would be serviced for 4 years and it's been breached.
Oh.
Now, the drivers service and repair the cars.
They now do it by themselves.
Yes.
Well, let's just hope that the authorities, the people who are in charge, because I understand even their management has been changed recently, and you don't even want to explore the a number of
underlying.
Yes, because some said that, you know, many of the people who are driving the cars are not the owners, that some people use their access and their opportunities to get the cars.
Oh.
And that even now, as we speak, more than 500 to 700 of those cars are still right there. And officially, maybe just about 150 of the people of those cars are the ones on the road. Meanwhile, government talked about 1,000, remember? Anyway.
But those cars are very difficult to get, because apparently they're few. Because I have tried to use lag ride from time to time, because I suspect that they're slightly cheaper than the others.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, but to get a car is the issue. So they will never find a car for you.
A city of 200 million, government promised 1,000. And
a city of 20 million.
Beg your pardon, a city of 20 million. Government says we have 1,000 of those in the city. And only about 150 thereabout
are on the
roads. And they are the ones that are going through this kind of thing. So, okay, so what's
and that means that there'll be fewer on the road in no time at all. Yes, so we're going to start the program
by the way, I'm sorry. We just received news, you know, that about one of them died out of exhaustion. Oh, why am I? Please go ahead.
Our menu. Boosting Nigerians' purchasing power. Oh, that should be interesting. Everybody will want to hear how that can be boosted in the light of all the inflation and all the your money can't buy much. Everything is expensive.
And Forex and fuel subsidy removal. How about the next one, towards a healthier environment? That news making the rounds recently about unbreathable air. Is that such a word?
Well, I'm sure you've been seeing the ads on television of this university, Wigwe University, beyond education, nurturing fearless visionary leaders.
We'll also have a conversation around Lofty Height Conference 2024, the power of vision.
And then, of course, our lifestyle segment, which will be looking at blood
awareness.
Blood awareness.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, they're coming to come and scare us again today. I mean, Dr. Agweniga the other day was telling me not to eat chocolates. And I went to her clinic and she said to me, next time you're coming, bring all the chocolates in your fridge. She wants to confiscate all of them.
No. When you're going to her office branch by my place, you can confiscate them in my office. And they have also said that the darker the chocolate, the more expensive it is.
And then the better for you.
And the better for you.
The healthier.
So if you have albino chocolates, sorry.
Well, get your cocoa or
cocoa.
And we'll be right back to start the program in earnest.
Do stay with us.
I'm here to testify. You're too faithful to fail me.
Thank you for joining us this beautiful Saturday morning. I saw a bit of Hamilton heat when I was coming in this morning. So, the current economic situation of many Nigerians, the unemployed, the employed,
underemployed,
or the small business operator, is to say the least, perplexing and confusing. Inflation continues to worsen the cost of living of the populace. What we heard, I believe that the inflation figures for last month were put at 28.2 or something like that. So the inflation continues to worsen the cost of living, and it's eroding the purchasing power of citizens with no succor in sight. It's like no matter how much you have, you can't go to the market and buy all the things that you want to buy. This is a conversation we're going to have this morning with two knowledgeable people, and one of them is a financial consultant with one of the big four, Anolua Olajide, joining us. Good morning, Mr. Olajide.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us. And we are expecting Dr. Olubenga Adeoye, a chartered accountant and a lawyer, to join us a moment from now. So, Mr. Olajide, of course, to the simple-minded, it would be, so why don't people just increase their staff salaries, increase income to deal with what we're going through at the moment? But that is a rather simplistic way of looking at it, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a very simplistic way of looking at it. So, when we have a vision problem, it's the function of costs, right? That's the source of the problem. The input that you use in producing your outputs becomes more expensive. So it's also, if you try to look at the value chain, it's also a function of where you're sourcing the input from. Are you sourcing it domestically or you're importing it? If you're importing it, then you have a problem of packing all of this into your cost of use. Yeah, exactly. Which by the time you pack all of that, you also have your cost of labor, you have cost of power, which of course everything is already impacted by rising inflation level. So it becomes very hard for you to just say, oh, I'm going to increase salaries. Now, there is this flexibility that producers have. They're able to pass on the cost of the raw material or additional cost or the inflation impact. They're able to pass it on to the consumer, depending on the industry. Some industries are, the consumers are quite price sensitive, and there are some industries where the consumers don't have a choice. They just have to bear that additional increase. So if you're able to pass on the increase in price, then to some extent you have flexibility to increase salaries so that your employees can also cushion the impact of that increase in overall price level. However, it's also a function of the percentage of that increase that you're able to pass on. Remember, these manufacturers have competitors in the local market, right? So if you increase your price arbitrarily or in a way that is too excessive, then you're likely to lose out in the market. Reality of things on ground is that people are shifting attention towards luxury products and they're looking at cheaper alternatives so that they can maintain their standard of living. One of the major impacts that inflation has is to erode the standard of living and purchasing power of consumers, right? So that simply means that consumers are looking for cheaper alternatives, and that's what we've seen happen in the Nigerian market. People are cutting down spending, people are looking at cheaper alternatives, people are looking at in their own food at home as against going to restaurants and eating out. So we've seen so many dynamics play out. So it's not just easy to just say, I transfer all the increase in cost or the impact of inflation and then I increase salary. It's a line that one has to balance properly. Now, it then boils down to a point of how do we solve this problem. If you look at the dynamics of Nigeria as of now, we are heavily dependent on importation, both for raw materials and for finished goods. We've seen heavy dependence on imported products. So for us to change the dynamics, it means that we need to start changing our focus and our orientation towards locally made products. Now, for us to do that, it means that we need to attract foreign direct investment. Now, we have two different levels of inflows. It can be in terms of foreign portfolio investment or foreign direct investment. Now, foreign portfolio investment, while it has its positive impact, but the impact is relatively short term, but we need to attract long-term capital, which in the form of foreign direct investment that goes into the real sector to establish production processes that then leads to production of locally made products. At the same time, they need input to fund the manufacturing of this product, so they need to source those input. As of now, some of the major problems that they have is the quality of locally sourced raw materials. So if you take the agricultural space or any industry that relies on the agricultural sector to fund or to more or less oil their machinery to produce their output, one of the major problems that they face is the quality of those outputs. So I believe that the likes of government can step in there and come up with major initiatives that can improve the quality of seasonings and also outputs that goes as the raw materials into their final output. So effectively, we need to get to a point where we produce sufficiently to meet our local demand and get the likes of SON and NAFDAC to also come in to standardize those products that gives the populace the assurance that those products are safe for consumption. We've seen recently in the news that we've seen so many locally, adulterated products. So we need to get to the point where we are comfortable, we are confident in the quality of locally produced output that gives us comfort to then be able to consume them. And over time, we'll get to a point whereby those products can be exported into other countries and at the same time we generate FX income, which will be good for the economy. So if we try to strip out the impact of exchange rates, which is effectively linked to the price level, they are linked. So effectively, you cannot really strip it out. So for us, if we're able to get to the point where we're able to export sufficient quantity, generate reasonable level of FX, then we'll see some form of stability and reduction in level of interest rate, inflation rather. However, for us to do that, it's not something that will be done just over a short-term period. It requires a reasonable level of gestation period for that to happen.
Mr. Lajide, you spoke about FDI, but you must be aware that in the last year, let me say, big manufacturers have packed up their things and left Nigeria. Cases in point. GSK, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, their home care and skin cleansing categories, have left this country. So if the climate were so good enough for FDI to come in, how come these guys are packing up and leaving? The same place you say new people should come into is the place that those who are in are leaving.
Yes, I totally agree with you. It's been a very, very challenging environment for businesses. Some of the challenge they have, of course, is the fact that the ease of doing business is not really as good as it should be. Also the harsh macroeconomic environment. So some of the things that they also face is the fact that they're unable to repatriate some of their funds, and that's really makes things very hard. And at the same time, importing the critical raw materials that they need to produce their output has been relatively challenging because they need to source for FX to import those raw materials. So those are some of the challenges. So for us to be able to attract them, it will be that we have the reasonable level of policies in place. One of those would be to find a way to clear the backlog of FX for those that are trying to repatriate their funds. We need to send that signal to the market that we are ready to do business. We are ready to actually give the flexibility for people to bring in their funds, create a long-term investment opportunity, and then be able to exit, take their money out of the country when the opportunity arises for them. So I think those are the kind of things that we need to start looking at. If people cannot really take their money out when they want to take it out, then it becomes very hard to attract them to come in the first place. However, we cannot see in every challenge there are no opportunities. I believe that as some manufacturers are existing, there creates opportunity for new players to come into those markets, come up with new initiatives to reduce cost of production, come up with new initiatives to utilize locally sourced raw materials to produce their house. We've seen different players already adopting that model, and they're looking at how they can improve the quality of locally produced raw materials so that they can continue their business.
Mr. Olajide, this morning, if you can hear me, I like the fact that you've gone to the local raw materials part, because I wanted to go a little, more local this morning, because every time we're talking about all these highfalutin figures and beautifully crafted language, macroeconomic issues, forex and all, to a large extent, a whole load of Nigerians do not really pay attention to the fact that at the end of it, it's all about people. And some people who may never see what $1 looks like all of their lives. So let's talk about them. Well, Dr. Olugbenga Adeoye has since joined us. He's a chartered accountant and he is a lawyer. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
You know, when we talk about the purchasing power of Nigerians, we are mostly talking about salary earners, business owners, and mostly those who live in urban and suburban Nigeria. Let's spare a thought this morning for those who are in the deep, deep rural areas, those who are in what security officials call ungoverned areas, ungoverned spaces, states and communities that literally have to live to eke a living, like literally eke a living. So when we're talking about purchasing power of Nigerians, these people are also in the basket. What should we be thinking about where they're concerned?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the whole issue about purchasing power, people are mixing it up. Purchasing power cuts across everybody. It means the strength of your currency. So in the past, you could have 10,000 naira and you are able to buy a bag of rice. But now, if you have 50,000 naira, you cannot buy a bag of rice. That's the summary about purchasing power. But the starting point about purchasing power is ease of doing business that he spoke about. I've been watching videos of these local government licenses and the rest, okay? I've been watching that over time. Until last week, I just asked for a card in my office that has the logo of the office to know the number of papers that people get. And I have a copy here. If you take time to count this, you will not end this program in 1 hour. This is for one vehicle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is Ifako Ijaye. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Now here, 67 papers, useless papers. And if we are serious as a country, all you need to do at the point of vehicle license renewal is to just have one line item called branding charge, one paper, and put like 5,000 or 10,000. This money, I'm not sure it gets to government. This is a problem.
Wait. Number one, you said this is for one vehicle.
Yes, one vehicle.
Is it
this is 67.
Is it a commercial vehicle?
No, if you have brand, if you put channels on your car, you need this.
Jesus Christ.
All right? If you put logo on your car, you need this. This is even very mild. If you go to the south, it can be as much as 100 and something. Now, as simple as this vehicle is, yes.
Which is not a commercial vehicle.
The president and all the governors in Nigeria, they need to wake up and say, when are we going to end this foolishness? Yeah. You just need one paper or a line item. Now, here's the way to do it. You can say all vehicles that belong to registered entities, we will put a line item and say branding charge. If you like brand, if you like don't brand. All commercial vehicles, we will put a line item in your vehicle license, branding charge, maybe 5 or 10,000. Pure and simple. Now, if you drive this car to a place like maybe Rivers or some other part of the country, some guys will stop you. They will examine and examine and examine. They will say, oh, we have seen. You do not have gas emission license here. So, and your fine is 25,000. All right? Non-state actors. Now, this is part of ease of doing business. if we are really serious, this nonsense should stop this year. And people,
I'm beginning to sweat.
they look into. Now, this is one aspect of ease of doing business. Now, you go back to local manufacturers. My other colleague was talking about people that left the country. Now, you look at critical sector and say, what are the things that Nigerians need? Do you know Gari is expensive now? Ilubo is expensive, yam flour. Now, what you do is give them special credit or grants and say, produce in large quantity such that Nigerians can afford to buy them. But most companies that are in Nigeria, they are the local government, they are the state government, they are the federal government. Now, I'll tell you some things that are happening in Nigeria. You are saying that there is no employment. Many people want to close down, not because their business is not something they enjoy, but because of ease of doing business. Let me give you an example. NAFDAC, for example, will come and start going from places to places and tell you that, oh, what you are selling is imported. You do not have global listing. Whereas the importers of all the items, they pass through standard organization, they pass through NAFDAC. Now, you that have a small shop in your place and you purchase from this importer, they're going to come after you and say, oh, on your shelf, you have some imported items. You have to come and do global listing. Otherwise, we penalize you. Now, the cost of global listing is actually more than your own profit in 1 year. So you can just pack your bag and get angry and say, look, here is not a place to live. Now, these are the issues to address. And part of my recommendation to Mr. President is that we should have ease of doing business commission and employment generation. And you put a DG there, a DG that will work with customs, that will work with immigration. Thank God for what Tunji Ojo is doing at in Nigerian immigration. Can I tell you something? Custom will go and will lay vehicles on the road, Benin Road, several places. And then they look at the duty you have paid. They said, no, this duty, it means that you have done something. The amount is small. Whose responsibility is that? So it's a high time we sit down to address ease of doing business. So people are leaving not because the business is not good, but because of the pressure. Now, grants for farmers, credit facility. Look, there is no way you can reduce prices of products when interest rate is 30-35%. And I do not know why everybody is keeping quiet about this. The central bank should sit down and say, critical sectors, and we call intervention financing. And you come up and say, this is the rate we will give loan to you because of your relevance.
You know,
before
Dr.
we go into other methods of bulk purchase and the rest.
Dr. Adeoye, you know, both of you have spoken about the macroeconomic issues, and you're not talking about our purchasing power. Well, I can understand. I mean, it is what is produced that will determine what the prices will be. And it is what the prices will be that will determine whether or not people are going to go for that,
buy them or not.
You know, or not. Mr. Olajide, earlier in the week, we got this news that there is a concern coming, particularly in the health sector. I don't remember whether it is something that NAFDAC is aware of yet, but we understand that there has been a hike in the consumption of alternative medicines, i.e. herbal medicine, because of the high costs and unaffordability of orthodox medicine in Nigeria. It was on the front page of, I think it was the front page of Business Day earlier in the week. Now, of course, experts are coming out and saying, you know, giving us the danger alert. This is all part of the purchasing power thing that we should be talking about. Now, many of these things, as you said earlier, we don't make in Nigeria. Some of the active ingredients of medications are not made, in fact, most are not made in Nigeria. That's from, according to NAFDAC. We have to import them. So they are having their concerns in that regard as well. So that is one of several areas in which people are having challenges with their purchasing power. What should Nigerians be looking at, particularly when they are trying to cut costs by looking at alternatives?
For the highlights. So let me start from the healthcare space. Just like you mentioned, there's a lot of challenge there, and of course, because of the purchasing power, people are looking at alternatives. But I see a brighter future, and in the fact of when I speak to the active pharmaceutical ingredient, that's APIs. I think we've seen like two major players in the Nigerian market are trying to establish local manufacturing of APIs. And by the time they are able to do that, that means that there's going to be a rapid improvement in local manufacturing of pharmaceutical products. So I see an upside in that regard. Now, with respect to the immediate, people looking at alternative, the reality is we don't have a standardizing measure of or how to ascertain the quantity of active ingredients in all these alternative medications. So while it may provide short-term relief, I'm a bit skeptical with respect to the long-term impact, right? So it's not a function of what are the alternative options that are safer. Then it means that even though this alternative option in terms of herbals, they are effective, they're good, we need to find a way to standardize or to find a way to measure the content and make it safe for consumption. And it boils down to my earlier comment around locally produced items that this level of safety and standardizations around them gives Nigerian concerns. That's why we develop taste for imported products, because we want to satisfy our safety, right? So I believe NAFDAC and the likes of SOM can also look at creative ways to ensure standardization in that space, so that whatever people are consuming gives them, they have some level of comfort that it will not provide a long-term harm to their health.
Okay.
So I mean that's just the way
All right, Mr. Lajide, there is an irony here. Okay. So on the one hand, purchasing power is purchasing capacity is dwindling. But there was this report not too long ago, published in one of the papers, January 8, to be precise, saying that 93% of Nigerians still save a portion of their income despite inflationary pressures, which has squeezed incomes. It's a KPMG Nigeria and Ghana report titled In Pursuit of Value. It says in Nigeria, 93% of respondents actively save a portion of their income each month, underscoring a resilient culture of saving despite the challenging economic conditions. Now, the fact that they save at all, forget how much or what percentage of their pay they save, the fact that 93% of Nigerians still save, when we say that, what did we just say now? That purchasing power is squeezing. Please help me understand that irony.
Okay, so I will try to highlight one thing that the other invitee mentioned earlier, that when you look at what people can purchase 10 years ago with 10,000 naira, a bag of rice, for instance, you can buy a bag of rice. But as of now, if you have 50,000, you can buy a bag of rice. So the same thing applies to savings. Say, for instance, I earn 1,000 naira, and then I'm able to save 200 naira out of it. If I'm still saving, say, 200 naira out of my salary as of today, even though inflation has gone up, the reality is the effective power of that savings has declined significantly. Wow. So, despite the fact that the cost of living has really gone up, inflation has, eroded the ability to actually live a comfortable life. What the report was highlighting is the fact that people still save. However, it's a function of the effectiveness of that value that they're saving. Now, the report said that around less than 5% of respondents, around less than 5% of respondents, they save less than around 20% of their earnings. And if you go to the upper tranche of the report as well, it's saying that over around 2% of respondents save over 50% of their salary. So it's a function of the pyramid. Where in the pyramid are you? Are you at the top of the pyramid or the middle of the pyramid or at the base of the pyramid? So the people that are impacted the most in this case are the people at the base of the pyramid because the little savings that they have has been effectively eroded, even though they are saving, but the actual value of those savings has really been.
Well, Mr. Lajide,
and that's where the problem is.
Yeah, Mr. Lajide, let me bring the same question. Well, Alera is clearly shocked that there are still people in this population who save up to 50%
of their salaries.
Actually, the report, there's a misunderstanding about what we call invisible hand theory that led to the savings. Actually, I was discussing with somebody about why people cannot spend the money in their hands. For example, you want to change your car. A particular car that was bought in 2021 for 4.2 million, somebody was in my house on January 1st. He brought the same type of car, but he actually paid 4.5 million naira to clear it.
Oh, just to clear?
To clear, duty. Now,
sorry, pause, please. Reverse.
So, a particular car, 4 Taros from the US, Tokumbo, 4.2 million.
Cost.
Brought it to Nigeria, everything, including duty. Now, somebody brought that same type of car now, and his clearing cost was 4.5 million.
Wait, does that include? Is that inclusive?
No,
of the cost of
clearing cost 4.5. Take note of this clearing cost, and it's not even the digital screen. Now, the cost of purchase came to about $20,000. That $20,000 is more than 20 million. Do you get the logic now?
Yeah.
So when you say people are saving, that report actually is as a result of fear of tomorrow. So what you have in your hand cannot buy you what you want to buy. So you just dump the money and you are looking at it. Say, what do I do with this? It's actually a frustration. Just like he said, if you were saving 2,000 out of your 10,000 before now, and you are still keeping 2,000, the 2,000 is eroded.
Yeah.
So, because your 10,000 used to buy you a full bag of rice before, now rice is about 60,000.
70.
So, you now look at it that my 10,000 does not worth going to go and get rice again. So, he's keeping the money with a view that who knows what will happen tomorrow. Maybe there will be no income again. And I spoke to a colleague, a chartered accountant too, 2 days ago, and he said, have you noticed, in fact, one of my friends who happens to be a car dealer, he told me, have you noticed that if you have 5 million naira, you are even scared to spend because you don't even know what is going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
So this is the invisible hand theory behind the savings that were reported. Also, don't forget that healthcare is also a matter. Now, if we have our primary healthcare centers well equipped, the issue on the drugs, orthodox medicine that you're talking about, would not be there. In other places, all these are discounted, especially a place like Canada. So you see that these people, they cannot afford it, but they must be healthy. And so it's high time government now look into health insurance and say, look, if you are sick, you should be able to go to the hospital without fear in your heart.
Yeah.
Why people go into the alternative medicine that they are not sure of? Some of these are good, but NAFDAC need to regulate all of that to be sure that people are not taking poison. It's because they want to live, they don't want to die, but they cannot afford the hospital bills. So, in whole, government need to look at food, healthcare, and garment.
Can you quickly look at this particular issue? We just got information and it's something you're aware of. that Nigerian equities are trouncing others in other parts of the world. And so it just begs the question, and of course, we always get reports that banks are making a kill. You know, maybe I should ask Mr. Olajide, how do you respond to that? How does that factor into all this purchasing power conversation? You're smiling.
I think if you look at some of the stocks that are doing so well, it's primarily some of the players in the defensive industry, about power, about the agriculture. So effectively, in this kind of economy where you have shrinking macroeconomic indices and cash economic realities, some industry that you see that will perform so well are what we call defensive industries, and that's the ones I just mentioned: agriculture, apparels, real estate, and coal. So the fact that Nigeria is also still recovering from the base effect of the COVID is still there. We've not really exhausted that impact. So all of those things positively impacted the equity market. Now we're probably getting to areas whereby if we don't manage the level of economic activity, we are likely to see negative impact on the equities market. However, this is just my opinion, right? So it depends on how things unfold hereafter. Then we can see subsequent impact on the market. So with banks, I think one of the major factors that is driving the bank's performance is the fact that there was exchange rate devaluation, which of course led to a lot of gains for some of them, and some of them they also had a major hit. So it depends on how well they are positioned, and at the same time there are a lot of charges that the banks make. Look at how massive that is. It's quite a lot, and it's contributed a significant portion of the revenue that the bank made. But with respect to the primary macroeconomic fundamentals, I think the fundamentals are there. I think the upsides are still there. However, we need to manage the economy properly so that it doesn't have a negative effect on the stock market. With respect to purchasing power, it is what it is at the end of the day. Those industries will continue to pass on the additional cost to consumers.
Okay.
And so, yeah, it's not a function of where you want to prioritize your investment objectives.
We're fast running out of time. But Dr. Adey, with 3 words only, the president disorganized the whole country, it seems, on the day of his subsidy is gone. That one just upturned everybody's life. So government has had from May till now. Do you see any efforts being made to put any initiatives or programs in place to help this upheaval that statement caused in the lives of Nigerians?
Well, from various statements from the president and from other people in government. So an arrangement is being made about CNG buses. The issue is whether they are available or not.
Mr. Adey, all that is talk. Anything concrete that has happened since then?
What I would say is that for now, it's difficult to actually point to something concrete that has happened. It's very difficult. But, that's why you also may need the people in government, the Minister of Finance, humanitarian, and all of those people to come and give us data on what they have done. All right? Because sometimes you may be speaking based on your limited knowledge of what they have done. But I would say that subsidy will still come in one way or the other. If you don't subsidize agricultural produce, you have to subsidize energy. You must subsidize something, And everybody knows what is happening in Germany about energy, in France. So subsidy is something you do to make sure you reduce the pressure on your people. And if we say PMS is expensive, diesel is expensive, people must still buy them because you need power in your house. The issue of solution, which we can recommend to Nigerians on how to increase their purchasing power, will be coming in the light of bulk purchase arrangement. Everybody in channels will say, okay, if we are getting 1 trailer load of rice, which is 600 bags, how much will it cost us? Can channels join with some other media guys, and then the price goes down to like more than 20%, and then you are able to share it. So cooperatives, and that's why the bulk purchase department of various states need to wake up now, such that people will have a place they can go to and get something cheaper.
Okay.
So for every manufacturer, for every distributor of product, they have what is called quantity discount, which you can get.
Okay. Mr. Lajide, quickly, in just one sentence, your parting shot on this. Dr. Adeoye has given us some idea about what kind of solutions we can begin to look at. Yours, please, in one sentence.
It's as simple as he has put it. Just bulk purchase. That's what I do. So that's what I would advise.
Okay. Mr. Anuoluwa Olajide, financial consultant. And in the studio, we had Dr. Olubenga Adeoye, a chartered accountant and a lawyer. Thank you very much for coming to look at this issue with us. Because I'm sure that people are looking for ways of augmenting, ways of stretching their naira.
When you mentioned augmenting right now, you just brought that picture. Augmenting.
Oh, that, which is now almost 30,000 naira. Thank you very much, yes, for staying with us. We'll be right back with another interesting.
Thank you for staying with us this morning. So let's talk about the environment and making it better. On Tuesday, government unfortunately destroyed an estimated 9.9 billion naira stockpile of confiscated elephant tusks.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that had been smuggled from various African countries. Experts say tens of thousands of elephants are killed worldwide each year just for their tusks. Conservationists believe that Nigeria has become a major hub for the illegal trade in animal parts from Africa. That's aside several other environment-related issues, that are lingering. Tree planting is supposed to be one of the simplest and most effective ways of tackling and reducing devastating impact of climate. There is that endless conversation about quality of air in various parts of the country, Lagos in particular. Let's have conversations this morning around some of these issues with two gentlemen joining us this morning. Dr. Babatunde Ajayi is General Manager, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency. He's right here with us in the studio. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
And we also have the Minister of State for the Environment. He is joining us live from Kaduna, Dr. Isiaq Salako. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, let's begin with that big issue about the stockpile of tusks confiscated, destroyed, some people say. Can you talk to us about that, please?
Well, thank you very much. The Federal Ministry of Environment, through one of our agencies, NESRIA, has the mandate for the regulation for implementing the CITES Convention, which is a global convention that protects endangered species and prevents their illegal trafficking. So over the years, the agency NESRIA has been working with sister agencies like the National Park Service, the Nigerian Customs Service, the Nigerian Quarantine Service, and so on and so forth. And I've seized parts of these animals especially elephants, that is usually slaughtered, killed illegally for their ivory. And then pangolin, usually killed for their scales. Crocodiles, usually killed for their skin, and so on and so forth. So over the years, the agency necessarily has seized some of these items at some of our border locations, and those are usually being kept at the safe place here in Abuja and also in Lagos. And over the years, that has accumulated. And as a result of that, we have to sit down and take a decision on what to do about those stockpiles. Well, eventually it was decided that they be destroyed.
Okay.
So maybe you recall that last year, about 2-3 months ago, we incinerated the pangolin scales and the crocodile skins. And only last week, we pulverized the ivories from elephants that were seized.
On that,
so that's
again,
exactly
Dr. Salako, if you can hear me, there are those who believe that, wow, 9.9 billion naira. Some people even look at it more from the dollar value of 11 point something, million dollars, and they're wondering, wait a minute, couldn't we have converted those to that kind of resource to some kind of good use as opposed to just destroying them?
Well, I can tell you that that was my own position when this proposal was initially brought to me. And it took about 2 months for the civil servants to persuade me that there's no other route other than to destroy it. First, the convention that is guiding the management of these seized items, which, like I said, is an international convention, frowns at anybody benefiting from that illegal trafficking, whether individuals, whether institutions, whether governments.
Okay.
Therefore, if we say we want to put it and probably sell it and bring out money out of it, first, government will be benefiting from it. The people who are buying it, what would they be doing with it? They will probably also be adding value and also trading it to make profits.
Okay.
So the route of making money out of it became eventually closed.
Okay.
The other option that we explored was, can we put this thing in a museum, for example, or some educational institutions where it can be used for teaching and learning? And for us to do that, there are some conditions that has to be satisfied, which unfortunately, when we did our survey, we could not. Because first, there has to be 100% assurance that those items will not go missing from either the museum or the educational institution, that somebody will eventually prefer them and also eventually benefit from it. So, and if you look at even globally, the US, sometimes 2-3 years ago, did a similar thing. Kenya here, this similar thing. South Africa, I think, also did. So it has become the global norm. If you really, really want to ensure that nobody benefits from it, it is to destroy. Okay. You may keep a few.
Okay.
To put in museums or educational institutions, but the large volume that we seized, there's no other route to go other than to destroy it.
Okay. Dr. Ajay, do you think that there is enough awareness about things like this? Because people are still killing elephants for their tusks. They are still killing pangolins for their shells. And do you think that the rural people who are mainly involved in this, are they aware of the damage that their action is causing?
I think to a very large extent. To the extent that information percolation may not be deep enough, I don't think they will be so aware. I also think that federal agencies might do much better, maybe with the National Orientation Agency, to communicate with people in these rural communities, and then use institutes or organizations at the state and local government level to communicate them. But A lot of people know. I know Lagos has strong policies against things like this. I know that there is a whole department of ecology and wildlife preservation in the Ministry of Environment, that particularly goes after people who, target endangered species. To the extent that the people in rural areas know enough about it, I'm not sure that the policy is very clear to them.
You mentioned the NOI, the Orientation Agency. Unfortunately, this seems to be the whipping boy when we're talking about
national orientation.
Awareness of almost everything in Nigeria.
Yes.
What attempt is Lagos State making to ensure that there is national orientation of these kinds of policies, whether through an agency of Lagos State or through the National Orientation Agency?
So for us in Lagos, because our structures are a bit different from, they're not exact replica of what the federal has. LASEPA, for instance, has a public relations or public affairs team that is specific, on our core mandates. And we go around talking about it. We have clubs in secondary schools and primary schools. We try to engage students so that they can tell their parents at home, and then several other communication methods. But I also know that our public relations structure as a state is very efficient, and we do as much as we can to get the message across to people in the
So why are you smiling?
Let me ask you this, because we're talking about conservation and all those things. In fact, there's a question coming to you, Honorable Minister of State, about the balance of the ecosystem and why these endangered species, why bringing them out, why their extinction is dangerous for humanity. We'll come to that one. But let me ask you this one very quickly. In the course of not too long ago, a number of people experienced certain unfortunate, unexpected air quality in Lagos. It was scary. In fact, I don't know whether that's part of what Alera saw on her way here when she said she saw some haze. Hamatan haze, she called it. Can you talk to us about that? What exactly happened?
So, air quality index is a measure of the kind of air that you have around you, and it's an indicator of the quality of your respiratory health, as it were. It tells you the kind of illnesses that you would most likely find, in your nose and your nasal cavity up to your lungs. Now, so a lot of things have happened in the past, and Lagos has been very keen on air quality in the past few weeks or few months, let's say. In 2020, there was a report by the World Bank studying air quality across Lagos for 1 year, and that report was very specific on certain things that must be done. It's a public document. A lot of people have engaged me on it. Now, I then looked at it and thought it might be important to, publish the air quality that we currently have, maybe monthly or weekly, to show people or to even foster awareness about the need to practice, green methods, or to be more careful in how we manage our environment. So the air quality across Lagos then was published. Now, we have devices planted all over Lagos, and this thing is measured every 30 minutes. The one we published for that day specifically stated for that day, and the time was measured. So that wasn't for a 1 year period or for a 1 week period. Also, that period had a bit of a harmattan. So that was also a thing. There are several things that are in the air that indicate quality. All kinds of gases. It's worse in some areas, it's better in some places. But it was just a general air quality measurement that we did. And we wanted to use it to push a message that you need to plant more trees, you need to reduce your emissions, you need to be more careful with, stop burning waste and all of those kinds of things. But the intro or the access point was to show us what our scorecard was initially. So that was the spirit behind publishing that.
So the reading for that day specifically showed that there was bad air.
Yes, in different places.
And why?
Why? So again, for different areas, there are different things.
Reasons.
Different reasons. Yes, for instance, I'll give you an example. in Agege, for instance, the air quality was really poor. And the biggest problem we have in that area is burning of cow skin, right? So it generates so much carbon, and all of us like pomo. Everybody likes to eat it.
Oh, God.
But
there has to be a healthier way of doing it. After all, back in time, we had the situation where mechanics, they poured oil on the ground. Right now, it's not so anymore. You could literally service your car, change the engine of your oil in your living room, and it would leave no trace. Alera, don't try that one. This one that you're smiling. But you talked about trees, so let me ask. Alera has asked you that one before we came on, and we'll come back to you on that. Honorable Minister of State, you had promised that 50,000 trees. Is that a month or a week or a year? How far with that?
Thank you very much. Really, I don't know whether you are referring to my personal New Year Green resolutions. If you are referring to it, what I promised is to personally ensure that I plant minimum of 50 trees per annum. But if you are talking about the target of the ministry, the presidential priorities, the 8 presidential priorities has identified one key deliverable that dovetail into tree planting. And from that, the Federal Ministry of Environment is expected in 2024 to plant at least about 6 million trees, which is what we are working towards. So that is the clarification about that. And of course, we all know the importance of trees, and I think we are all beginning to realize much more powerfully the importance of trees in our ecosystem, in our homes, in our communities, and the green resolution that I made is also to drive home a message that governments can create the enabling environment, government can do the policies until the people imbibe some of those policies and take personal decisions, personal action towards them. We may not be able to operate in the scale that will have the kind of effect that we want it to have on our environment.
Thank you.
Therefore,
Dr. Salako, just a second. On that particular one, because I just did a quick math now, 6 million trees in a year comes to 500,000 trees in a month. And it comes to 16,000 plus trees in a day. Now, I was going to ask you the kind of collaboration required, and you have just highlighted or mentioned it, mentioned the need for the collaboration of the people. The question then is how? Just a little while ago, Alera here was talking about national orientation with Dr. Ajayi here. We tend to have a bit of a problem in the area of that collaboration. So how will that happen? Because the risk of not having those trees and the consequences of it, they are right there in our faces. So what kind of collaborations do we need? Who are the people we need these collaborations with, whether at the federal level or at whatever level, that will help us achieve 16,000 trees in a day in different parts of the country in this year?
As a matter of fact, the 6 million trees that I spoke about is exclusive of what we expect the subnationals to do. I'm sure Lagos State government that is sitting down there must have their own target of trees they want to plant 2024, and also other states of the Federation. So those 6 million trees that I'm talking about are the target of the federal government of Nigeria. How do we go about it? First, we have our agencies. I'm sure you know about the Great Green Wall. The Great Green Wall was created virtually exclusively to plant trees in the frontline states of the country, in the northern part of the country. And they are going to do a lot of that. There's a program that we're going to use to drive it. We're going to be training young Nigerians, those who are a little bit digitally savvy, train them online on how to plant trees, sometimes wild trees, not necessarily trees that the seedlings were produced in institutions, train them on how to plant those trees, how to nurture those trees, and then pay them subsistence on a monthly basis, and also put together a monitoring mechanism to ensure that they are following through with those commitments. So those are some of the things. Then, of course, there's some that we're going to be doing directly through some of our agencies, like the Great Grey Wall, the Forest Research Institute of Nigeria, the Department of Forestry, the National Park Service, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, is for each Nigerian to take it as a personal commitment to plant trees. You can imagine if 100 million Nigerians alone decide to plant one tree in a year, that is 100 million trees in a year.
Okay. Honorable Minister,
so,
in parentheses, what was the number in your New Year resolution? What was the number that you promised that you would plant this year?
50.
50 trees. Okay.
Yes, personally. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Ajayi, the issue of tree planting used to be a big thing in Lagos State, and you all seem to have gone rather quiet about it. What happened to that initiative?
So the tree planting initiative is still very much alive. In fact, it's so serious that a whole agency has that mandate to manage parks and gardens and plant trees across Lagos. As a matter of fact, you are not going to fell any tree. Last park. You won't be able to fell any tree unless you go through last park.
So now, if I fell a tree in my compound, how is last park going to know about it?
You'll get a bill. You get a fine.
How will they know? They wouldn't even know that I felled it.
They have agencies. They have agents across Lagos.
And your neighbors?
I'm fenced.
Your neighbors probably monitor you and you don't know.
Oh, you have spies everywhere.
Well, if you call them spies. But you have neighborhood watch, people who actually are supposed to be custodians of what happens in the neighborhood. And they report these things to last park.
Is that part of the conversation that Dr. Salako is talking about? Collaboration with states?
Oh, yes. So I know that whenever the federal has a mandate, of course, there's communication to to the state ministries of environment. And I'm sure that as Lagos, by ourselves, we have a mandate to plant a certain number of trees every year. I know Last Park is doing great at it. There are several collaborations they have. I also know that they go through schools. Every school has a tree planting initiative. And I know they percolate almost every fabric, of the society. So I know that program is still very much alive. Maybe we're not putting out there enough, but I'm sure that it is very much alive.
Okay. Now, the issue of firewood. Unfortunately, kerosene has gone beyond the reach of the poor man. Even gas that they were trying to upgrade to is now so expensive. So I'm sure that some people are going back to firewood. How is the state going to deal with that? So
from time to time, LASEPA and LOMA have come up with initiatives to exchange, to bring more people into the cooking gas network, right? So women can, from different of our initiatives, women can bring plastic bottles and then get a gas cylinder that is filled. And then we try to make a discount available whenever they have to refill. So we have those programs, and the entire goal is to make sure that people don't go back to firewood and coal cooking, and they don't burn fuel that would cause problem for our climate.
We were just talking about purchasing power. The last time I bought 12.5 kg of gas, it was, I think, 13,000. So how are these lowly people going to afford to buy gas at that kind of amount when they can't even afford to feed themselves? Where is the food they're going to cook on that 13,000 naira gas?
Okay, so again, we have an initiative that gives them this gas for free. And whenever they have
free,
to, yes,
where?
She wants to take
free gas, free gas.
So we have methods, right? The first thing is bring plastic bottles. Bring plastic bottles, gather plastic bottles, bring it.
Okay, how many bottles equal to how many kg of gas?
So I think it's about 5 kg of bottles equal to 5 kg of gas. So it does a dual.
Empty bottles.
Yes, it does a dual purpose.
It'll take me a month to gather that.
Maybe because you don't use a lot of them, or you're not deliberate about picking them up. But people do that and they exchange it. So Loma was doing it, LASEPA has done it, and a lot of agencies in the environment are actually picking up that initiative. It does a dual purpose. It helps you mop up plastic bottles, and it also helps you preach and introduce those people and bring them into the cooking gas network.
One of the let me take this now that we're talking about states. Dr. Salako, I don't know if you are aware of this hue and cry coming up from Oyo State about the Ogunpa forest. We understand that some locals are complaining, they're agitating for one reason or the other, and that perhaps even the attention of the federal government has been brought to that. Is there any collaboration with the federal government and the states on that particular issue?
Yes, absolutely. That particular issue has come to our notice at the Federal Ministry of Environment. And only recently I dispatched a letter to the governor of Oyo State to also draw his attention more to it and also restate the position of the federal government on such issues and also open up an avenue for further engagement over it. We believe that as much as possible, government should not be destroying forests. Government should be at the forefront of protecting forests because all these forests have very, very important role in our ecosystem. The forest department that you particularly mentioned, experts have come up to say that is one of the mitigating factors against the incessant flood that we used to have in the Ogunpa River area, and therefore we draw the attention of further draw the Oyo State government to it, and I hope that somehow we can prevent the destruction of that forest reserve.
I think we just have to do that because the memories of several years ago will not elude anyone, especially those who knew then what was called the Ogunpa flood. But I mentioned, when you mentioned the ecosystem issue, I said that the other time that people need to be aware of the consequences of certain animals going extinct in the ecosystem. You talked about pangolin, you talked about crocodiles, you've talked about elephants. What are the consequences, the risks we're at if these animals should go extinct in the environment?
The first is that the first rule is that everything that you find in nature has a role that it is playing. It is not just there, it is playing a role. And if you look at it, the system, the ecosystem operates in a balance. And if you tilt the balance in one direction, what you do is to affect the balance of the nature, which can result into consequences that you have not envisaged. As an example, let us take the elephant, for example. The elephants in nature, guarded as the engineer of nature. It helps regulate the level crops growth and also helps to create pathways for other animals in the bush, in the forest. Therefore, when you remove elephants from the forest, those very important roles that they are playing is removed. And eventually, the negative consequences is also felt somewhere else along the ecosystem. So the message here is that the world, planet Earth, belongs to everybody, not just to human beings. It belongs to the animals, it belongs to human beings. In fact, it belongs to even the non-living things. And man, as at the pinnacle of that ecosystem, has a responsibility to ensure that the balance that Almighty God has created, to ensure the cyclical, continuous life on planet Earth is sustainably maintained. Okay. So when we remove, so that if you remove any creature from the ecosystem, you tilt the balance and you affect the cyclical nature the way the nature is working.
Thank you for that, for those who need to know. But Dr. Jai, you talked about Agege and our Bomo. By the way, just to let you know that there is such a thing as Bomo Republic. And the Prime Minister is forever the comedian. But anyway, that's on the side. Now,
Republic.
What needs to be done to ensure that that's air pollution in that particular area, or the things that we can control, is being controlled? I sense that there will be a need for some kind of collaboration with one or two other agencies or some communities in ensuring that those things stop. There has to be other ways that we can have our Pomo other than burning them with and creating artificial soot.
Okay, I'm trying not to focus so much on Pomo. I mean, I understand it is delicious, but I'm
happy
problem,
you know.
The real problem is that the pollution landscape is quite broad. Now, considering the ones that have the largest effect on the health of people, the emissions from burning cow skin is just one of them. There's vehicular emissions that you have from vehicles. Lagos has...
I understand that. I'm just saying, I mean, and citing that example, we also know that there's such a thing as Vehicle Inspection Agency in Lagos that is supposed to ensure that we do not have vehicles that emit such dangerous or pollute the air, so to speak. Okay. So what is supposed to happen so that those elements and those sources of pollution are curtailed?
Okay, so first you talked about the vehicle inspection. For the cow skin, we engage constructively. We try to talk to the communities. We talk to the abattoirs across Lagos. We engage the market women who are in the supply chain of this particular item. For construction pollution, for instance, which is also a very big one, it forms almost half of 50% of the amount of particulate matter that you have in air, right? And it goes from dust on the road to the sand you pack in front of the construction site, because wind blows it and then it forms particles in the air. Even the truck carrying the sand, drops all of these things on the way. Then cement also forms a whole amount of construction pollution. So for those ones where we have a target, we're deliberately regulating those spaces. If you have to put sand in front of a construction site, it must be inside the perimeter, right? Then on the very general note, I think that planting more trees will help across all of these spheres. Also, different communities, it's very easy to engage gated, or let me not say gated now, controlled environments. Communities. Because now we are becoming, we're trying to take down the gates, so they shouldn't be gated communities anymore.
You have been taking down
my commissioner has been. So for those communities, they're easier to engage. In different estates, you find them planting 1,000 trees, 2,000 trees. It helps them. It helps with managing the pollution in those areas. So we're just going to continue to engage these people, plant more trees, reduce the pollutants, manage the sources of the pollution, and then help with, putting policies in place. For industrial emissions, we do a lot with the steel industry, all the industries across Lagos, the old industrial zones, all of the industrial zones. We manage them very closely and make sure that, they don't emit too much.
Talking about industry emissions, kindly bring up the issue of a factory behind Millennium Estate in Bagada that has been polluting the environment with their emissions. La CEPA has been invited several times, but their actions persist.
So this particular estate, I have been there myself.
You are aware of it?
I have been there myself. I have visited myself. So that area started out as an industrial estate. Bagada is on the highway, right? Those industries have been there for decades. So now people have gone to build very close to their walls.
Including Lagos State, I might add.
People have built close to them. Now, that's not an excuse for pollution. However, for any source of emission or any kind of pollution, it's deliberate that the industrial zones are far away from town, so that in case there's even emission, you can manage it.
Yeah.
So what we've done is to insist that the industry, in particular in question, installs a world-class abatement plant. That abatement plant is going to come up in February. So we have a 6-week margin or gap for them, and we have insisted that they must do it. I went there myself late December, and I saw exactly what people were complaining about. I have engaged both people, the community and the industry. We had a roundtable discussion, and both of us promised each other that by the end of January, or at the worst, early February, they must install that abatement plant. The one they have now is not as efficient as it should be. It still has some particles leaking out, so people still smell them.
All right. So, Mrs. Giwa, please pay attention and let the agency know, should that not happen as at the end of February.
Okay, she's in my WhatsApp.
Oh, okay. All right. Dr. Salako, talk to us about this. You've been listening to this conversation around air pollution and all. Lagos may just as, be one of those states that has quite some measure of control on its systems. Even though it is as populated as it is, the challenge has always been that of not just active engagement, but being able to persuade the people enough. There are those who would argue that some of these things should actually happen from the base, from the local government level. What can you tell us about that kind of the need for that kind of engagement, particularly at the lowest level, so that people know the consequences of some of the actions they take or not take, and then in their own informed interests, do the needful to curtail this air pollution that is injurious to them in the long run?
Thank you very much. First, permit me, I must say that Lagos State is doing at least comparatively better than most subnational governments in terms of attention to the environment. But of course, Lagos State has no choice, because if you consider the kind of human density in Lagos, the kind of human activities that takes place, the kind of industrial activities that takes place, and of course the challenge of the ocean, Lagos must be at the forefront of environmental action, which I commend them for doing. With respect to air quality, the role of the federal government or the Federal Minister of Environment is largely regulatory, setting standards and being the repository of national data on air quality across the country. The implementation are basically at the subnational levels, with the Lagos State government is already actioning. Now to your question, of course, we all know that air quality is very, very important. I think it's a basic knowledge that everybody appreciates, because you have to breathe in air. Once you stop breathing, that means life ceases. And if the quality of what you're breathing in is poor, then definitely to have some adverse effect on your health. Beyond that, the effect of emissions on our climate is also very important. You will see that if you're talking about climate change today, the greatest culprits are the emissions that result from human activities, particularly what we call the greenhouse gas emissions. So if you take conscious effort to reduce our level of emissions and control the level of emissions in terms of from our vehicles, from the sources of our energy, from the way we prepare our food systems, from the kind of agricultural practices that we engage in, we are only helping the environment and ultimately helping ourselves. The challenge of climate change is the greatest challenge facing humanity. And it is caused largely by mass human activity. Until also we have mass human climate action, we may not be able to resolve these challenges.
Awesome.
So everybody has a responsibility to ensure they take action in this respect.
And that's a very, very strong place to put it. Well, Alero, you have to hold your horse.
Yes, because I was going to talk about refuse disposal.
Well, we have to end it at this time. Maybe you want to invite Dr. Ajayi some other time. We have to thank you this morning. Dr. Isiaq Salako, Minister of State for the Environment. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule right there in Kaduna State to join us for this conversation. Thank you so much for coming. And we've also had...
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Dr. Babatunde Ajayi, General Manager, Lagos State Environmental Protection Agency, LASEPA. Well, there is, as you have heard, you have to come back to answer more questions from the federal government of Alero.
Ready whenever you are.
Okay. So we're back right after now to take on another issue. Do stay with us.
If you are a, what should I say? I'll say ardent television viewer, you would have seen the commercial for this university. And you probably have heard it on radio. I think I've heard it on radio as well. And I'm talking about Wigwe University.
Yes.
Wigwe University is unwavering in its commitment to excellence in education and the shaping of future African leaders. Their purpose is to build and nurture truly responsible, fearless leaders that will drive transformative change in Nigeria and in Africa. They recognize that the realization of sustainable progress in Africa hinges on the cultivation of leaders who are not only academically proficient, but also possess a relentless obligation to changing the current narrative of Africa and its people.
Yes.
Please welcome the Vice Chancellor, Wigwe University, Professor Miles Davis.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you, Alego. And Iko, thank you for inviting me to be here today.
Well, he's wearing Nigerian attire, but he's only faking it. You know that expression, fake it till you make it?
Well, he's made it to Nigeria.
Let's be clear. Let's go a step further. I am not faking it because I've had my DNA done. 30% of my DNA is actually from Nigeria. Another 27% is from Cameroon, and another 20% is from Benin. So my roots are in Africa, and I'm not fake. I'm just reclaiming my heritage.
I apologize. Welcome, Professor Davis.
Honored to be here.
Thank you very much for coming. Now, what's the big idea about the creation of this university? I think everybody has heard that a university is coming or has come called Wigwe University.
Yes. Our vision is to nurture prosperity on the African continent, and we're going to nurture that prosperity by developing leaders. There are a lot of educational institutions that focus in on the trades or developing, preparing people for jobs. And of course, that's why you get an education, to create options. But people have come to the African continent in general, in Nigeria specifically, to pull out their resources. One of the resources that is often not discussed that is being pulled out of this continent is the brain drain. Last year, 44,000 Nigerians sent their children abroad to go to school. Those children do not come back here. The UK, 1/5 of the educational budget coming into the UK is from sub-Saharan Africa. Nigeria in particular, yes. So imagine if we took those resources, that intellectual brain power, and put it back into the country to develop the country. And let me be clear. You're right. I was not born here, but I've seen and been exposed to the resiliency of the people here. Hardworking, innovative, extremely bright, and extremely intelligent. And yet, some of the best of us are not here. Some of the best of us have gone away. When I, even on my way here, see the young men on the street carrying their sewing machines, nothing wrong with that, because you dress nicely, I dress nicely, we like people who make clothes. However, let's also have people who can create larger clothing businesses that can have companies. Before I left the U.S., I lived in a state called Oregon. One of the last things I did before I left, the Portland Museum of Art, you can look this up, had an African fashion exhibit. And I got to see the mother of African fashion and how African fashion has influenced the world. One of the gifts that I was given this Christmas was from a young man named Diantu, who was in the UK, who is an African fashion designer from Nigeria. We should be able to do these things here in Nigeria and create employment and opportunity for Nigeria to reinvest the human and intellectual capital back into this country.
Now, it's like you almost answered this question, but you have to convince me.
That's okay.
What makes Wigwe University different?
Okay.
I mean, you've given us the big idea, the vision and everything. Everyone is going to come out and say, look, we want to build an educated Nigeria, resilient people and all those things. But in terms of the DNA of Wigwe University, what makes it different from other Nigerian or African universities? There are those people watching us now who want you to convince them why they have to come to Wigwe University as opposed to some French university next door.
And this is a good question, but I also want to start off by saying this. It is never my job to convince anyone of anything, because you either can understand and accept, or you do not understand or you do not accept. What I can do is give you information. It is never my job to change minds. All I can do is provide information. Human beings are in control of their own thoughts. And so when I say that, here's what we're doing. First of all, from the ground up, it is built to support not just a quality education, but a quality education in a cultural environment that supports and nurtures leaders. And you're right, I began to address that, is that what we are doing are preparing people to lead. We are preparing people to own, not just be cogs in the machine. One of the great educators that came out of the United States who actually had influence on the African continent was W.B. Du Bois. And what W.B. Du Bois talked about when he went to Ghana with Kwame Nkrumah was to talk about that there's a talented tenth, there's a population that is designed to prepare to lead. This is what we often have not done in education. We have not prepared people to lead. We've prepared them for jobs. Number one. Number two, the culture from the very beginning, it is not just what is happening in the classroom, because we can discuss the innovative methods that we're using in the classroom, but also from the staff to the faculty that we're hiring, it is a supportive, nurturing system that has the resources to add to intellectual as well as physical as well as spiritual growth and development, to contribute to the development of the whole human being, to make them ready. Because our goal is that within 15 years to have our students be governors, not just employees.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you want to come to Nigeria and be the Oxford/Cambridge of Nigeria.
Well, let me put it to you this way. The Oxfords and Cambridge were developed for the British people and British nobility. I came from the United States and Harvard and Yale and Princeton They were developed for people in the U.S. They were developed for the people who owned enslaved Africans. What we're doing is developing the best within the African context.
Okay.
This is a difference because we're not replicating the British system or replicating the U.S. system, but we're taking the best from the world. The largest group of our faculty will be from the African continent, mostly from Nigeria, because Nigeria has a great reputation. The universities here have done amazing things. And let's also pull resources from around the world to put them in our institution.
Okay. Can you explain to us this concept of the fearless legacy that you intend to leave?
Yes. So let's be clear. To be fearless doesn't mean that you do not have fear of things. Only a fool is not afraid. On my ride over here today, as I was going by tractor containers, I was afraid. so I'm not pretending that I don't have fear. What we mean is to develop the capacity and the resiliency to push past the fear, to be able to look out and say, yes, there are challenges, because that's what fear says. Fear is a result of something that is challenging you, something that is different to you, something that may be moving you even to the next level. I was partially afraid to move.
To Nigeria.
To Nigeria. But there are concerns, there are fears, and then there's the bigger vision. And so this is what being fearless means, is to say, okay, there are challenges here. How do we confront and how do we address these challenges? I'm a little bit afraid of you, but I'm still going to talk to you because I have to be ready and have these conversations. So.
Okay. You should be afraid of her. Although she's one of your neighbors in Benin. So.
Ah, that's wonderful.
But question.
Yes, sir.
Wigwe is a private university.
Yes.
How affordable is it?
So affordability is a relative question. So along with the 44,000 people who were sent out of Nigeria to school, do you know on average how much they spent? Because I have this data because I'm a data geek. So you know how much on average how much they spent? $70,000 US a year to send their children abroad. I had a conversation with a person the other day who is sending their child to a boarding school in another country that is actually more than our tuition. So affordability is a relative term. So the prices are on the website, but I also want to commit to this because you cannot develop an economy or a country only bringing in people who can afford to pay for it. So we have set aside 10% of our population will be on scholarship. We are going to sponsor them because we want all people to have access to our institution.
Okay. When is this university taking off? When is your first semester?
Wonderful question. Classes start, there's a countdown on the website. Classes start in 252 days, September 9th. 252 days and 3 hours.
Okay. Okay. Are your first intakes going to come from the UTME system?
Yes, they are. We are in full compliance because we're very much aware of NUC regulations. And until we have graduated our first class, there are restrictions about what we can and cannot do. And so we are following those things to the letter.
Go ahead.
Because it is important for us that even though we are intentionally setting up an international university, we are Nigerian centered, and you have to obey regulatory and laws within the country in which you're doing.
Just to be clear,
yes,
your website is wigweuniversity.edu.ng.
Yes.
wigweuniversity.edu.ng.
Yes.
I want to correct you.
Oh, what did it say?
It's 252 days and 13 hours.
Oh, man. I had the number 3 right in my head, so that's what was floating in my head. And maybe I'm just anxious. It's like I want to take off those 10 hours of 3. But at least you checked on me. And besides, you just gave me a wonderful opportunity to plug the website. So this is fantastic.
Oh,
so
well, it should be on the website, on the screen shortly.
Yes.
You know, but a number of other things that so many people will be asking asking about, I mean, you talked about compliance with the federal government initiatives and all.
Yes.
Okay, well, this is your website. When we close this one, this is thanking
there
you
you
for
go.
coming.
Yes.
And then that countdown is right there.
Yes, it is.
Somewhere on the page. And of course, you can explore the website and everything. You know, there are those who would be wondering, the reason many people leave Nigeria is because they don't think that the courses, the quality of education they're going to get is going to be globally competitive.
Yes.
Now, you're talking about compliance.
Yes.
Now, the federal government's Federal Ministry of Education has certain, NUC and the rest of them have certain, what do we call them, curriculum, all of those things.
Yes.
So, how is your university's curriculum different or in comparison with those of other universities in Nigeria or outside of it?
So let's be clear that there is a requirement, the curriculum mass, what is generally referred to as general education. There are requirements that the NUC has set forth, and we're going to be in full compliance with those things. Then there is an additional 30% or so that you're allowed to be innovative in and add to those things. So we're going to be in full compliance with what has to be done, and then we will add in addition. So for instance, one of the things that we're doing, besides the innovation that we're doing in our animation and our mechatronics, and what we're doing in the performing arts and how we approach it and how we teach it, is also to make sure that people are rooted within the context of African history. It's a requirement to be at our institution, to study and have a perspective, because it will give people a perspective on what's happening in the world today. But also, I want to say this. You mentioned Oxford and various other well-known institutions. My son, who's a lawyer, was fortunate to spend some time at Oxford. My son studied law in the U.S., and he studied law in Oxford. Law is law. But how it is taught, how it is delivered, who is teaching it, and how it's applied becomes the unique feature of it. Yeah. So we're bringing in people, the best of the best, because we want to produce the best. You know a tree by its fruits. And so we want to have people who are well-grounded, who understand our purpose and mission, who are teaching at an institution. We don't want people who just want a job. You can find a job anywhere. We want people who want to make a difference. And this is why it'll be different about how we approach it. So the curriculum may look similar in some cases. In other cases, it will look different. But we will be in compliance with the regulatory environment, and then we will add our own unique spin on what it is we're doing.
Interesting.
I'm wondering why an American professor would accept a job to be vice chancellor in a Nigerian university.
With all the news that you
haven't you heard all the news about Nigeria?
Oh my gosh. And so, first of all, if you'll allow me this, I have to give credit to my father. My father was not an educated man. My father only went to 9th grade. My mother only got as far as 12th grade before she got pregnant with my brother and had to drop out. I tell you this story, personal detail, because I come from very, very humble beginnings. And what my father did for me, though, was he wanted me to be educated in a context other than being enslaved and a second-class citizen, which is how I was perceived in the U.S. So he wanted to talk about all the things that were happening throughout the African diaspora. And so this is how I grew up reading books. So that's why this happened when I was a young man through my teens. And I won't tell you how old I am now, but I'm an old man now. That when the opportunity came to make a difference, to try to make a difference, to assist, I could not say no. If all we do is take what we have learned and apply it in a context that doesn't benefit people who look like us, what are we doing? Oregon has 0.7% black population. And then, of course, you can say, but it's not just you being black, you're an American. Let's be clear.
just because you are inside of a restaurant does not make you a diner. Just because you live in the United States does not make you an American. And so understanding that I had to be here, this will probably be the last thing that I do in my life, because again, I am not a young man. But to have an opportunity to plant a seed in a tree that I may never sit underneath the shade of, how could I say no? How could I say no to that?
Interesting. What motivation do you want to give the young right now about this? Yeah, it's mom and dad that's going to pay. They don't need convincing.
Yes.
But what do you want to say to the young people who might be able to afford to be, in Wigwe University 252 days from now?
Okay. So let me be clear. I've noticed a lot of people doing a lot of amazing things here in Nigeria. And guess what? They do not have a college education. I'm clear about this. They're doing what they have to do. But I have a good friend of mine, and I'm stealing this quote from her. In order to have choices, you have to make choices. And what education offers you is an opportunity for you to have choice. Because some of us, even the entrepreneurs that I see, or the people on the street, they are necessity entrepreneurs. Because they cannot earn a decent wage anyplace else.
Okay.
And so what I'm saying is, let's create opportunities for people to work for large multinationals, if that's what they want to do, to also launch businesses, to be TV spokespeople or announcers.
And to be governors.
To be governors.
Okay. Just a quick one. Where is Wigwe University located?
It is located in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
I'm trying to get good on my pronunciation because I understand I put a bit more emphasis on the R than most do here. It's Port Harcourt in Ezekiel State. It is on a campus. And I want to share this with you. Our campus is larger than a significant number of provinces in the continent. So Victoria Island, we are about the same size. Our campus is about the same size as VI. In Abuja, 90 hectares constitutes a zone, a province. Well, we have over 600 hectares.
Oh.
So this is
no more marketing. No more marketing.
Professor Davis.
But as you can tell, I'm excited about this project. We are designed by intent to make a difference. And thank you for allowing me to be here to discuss.
Just to be clear, all information about the admission and everything is on the
website. So, Professor Davis, all we can do is wish you all the best.
Thank you.
And, welcome to Nigeria.
Thank you.
And I hope that your experience so far, since you've been here, has been...
It's been wonderful. And I want to invite you to come visit us on our opening ceremonies. They'll be happening September 2nd to 6th. I'm going to extend you a personal invitation. Also, for those who are watching in Port Harcourt, we're having a university fair on Saturday. And it's not just for students and parents, so also staff will be running it. We'll also be hiring people from the area. So you're welcome to come. I look forward to seeing you there.
Professor Miles Davis, Vice Chancellor, Wigwe University, over in Port Harcourt. Thank you for coming to enlighten us about this university.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Sunrise will return in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Well, I guess it's time for you to call your friends, if you love them enough, to this next conversation with Lofty Heights Conference 2024. The Lofty Heights Conference seeks to create a meeting point between achievers and would-be achievers, mentors and prodigies, superiors and subordinates. In the past couple of years, the Lofty Heights Conference has had many great individuals across various sectors of the economy grace the platform and share with thousands of attendees. Let's have conversation around this with Dr. Wale Tejibade, who is convener Lofty Height Conference. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I celebrate you.
Okay.
Thank you. So great to be back here.
Well, just to be clear, this conference has held for how many years now?
On the very large scale, 2016, but we took a break during COVID, so it's been consistent since then, except for I think 2001, 2002. We didn't hold it.
Is that 2020 or 2021?
We held in 2020.
Okay.
Yes, I remember very well. We held 2020, January. I mean, it was
just
January.
before the lockdown.
Yes, before the lockdown, yeah.
Started,
but
yes,
we didn't hold 2021 and 2022.
I just wanted to be sure that you meant 2021 and not 2000 and 2021. 2001, because that's what I thought I heard you say the first time. Okay, so tell us about this conference. What is it about?
Well, just like you read in the intro, the conference seeks to create a platform, between achievers and would-be achievers, mentors and prodigies, leaders and followers. So what we do with it, for me, came as a vision for me. And funny enough, the theme for this year's edition is the power of vision. I just envisioned a situation where someone who is successful, in their craft or in their field, would have the opportunity to sharing of their trials, their triumphs, the trajectories or the turns and whatever has led them to, the enviable status they are in right now. Share with someone who is aspiring, to be in there too. Just like Auntie Alera, for example, I mean, since day one that we've been having this, she's always been here. So without a doubt, for example, if I were to use as an example, it would be that, there's something about her and what she does, with media, communication, journalism, or presentation that someone out there, needs. And all the person may need may just be an opportunity to just have, to have her share how she got to the level which she
You're
is.
going to start
right
making
now.
her blush in public. But so what's been the story over the years? Sometimes many people say, these conferences are just talk shops. Just talk and then we're done. What's been the story of impact?
You see, without sense of modesty, for Lofty Height Conference, it's been extremely very different, impactful, transformational. I meet people even outside Nigeria who, walk up to me and tell me, oh, I know you, and from where? I attended Lofty Height Conference X and Y, yeah. That's been the story. I've had people reach out to us or reach out to me, who'd say, oh, thank you. You know how people get to remember specific phrases or words used by certain speakers, and then they're sharing with you how what that person said caused a transformation in their lives. And of course, yes, if you take a look at for how long the conference has been held right now, many who were there in 2016, perhaps a year one, a year three student, for example, is now a graduate. All right. Many who were single, but now married, so you see all the changes, over the years too. But by and large, one of the things or one of the reasons why we've kept at it, despite how challenging, because frankly, it's quite very challenging, to put together, is because of the success stories. And that's the truth. I've actually thought about, I do all this stuff. I'm also a pastor. So, and the demand on that is very heavy. So maybe I should just let this slide. But I do not have a release from the Lord, to doing that. And each time I remember, how much of transformations and help it's brought to certain lives, I'm buoyed, to carry on.
Talk to us about some attendee or attendees who came and were so impacted by what they listened to, things that happened there, that they went on to Lofty Heights.
I mean, quite a number of them. As I speak right now, I have two of them, at the lobby. came in here with me. The project manager, Dr. Lois, Adebulu is there. One of my prodigies, Eniola Peters too, is outside there. Eniola Peters started joining Lofty Height as a student, I think of Lagos State University maybe 3-4 years ago or thereabout. Now he's done with school maybe like 2 years or thereabout. He runs a real estate firm now. All right, Dr. Lois, joined, I think maybe she was just out of school serving or something. Now she's married. Now she sits on board of the conference. She's a project manager of the conference. Tons of people like that. The list is endless. Take, for example, like I said earlier on, the stories, the testimonials of these people is one of the reasons why, it's quite very hard for me or for my team to say we've had enough. I mean, to the best of my knowledge, and I say this with all sense of modesty, this perhaps is the singular inspirational and empowerment platform for young adults or young professionals hosted by an individual running in this nation. I stand to be corrected.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, what informed the theme for this year, which is the power of vision?
Yeah, the themes usually come, as the leader, right, I have a team we call pilot team. There are just about 7, 8 thereabout of us. That's the think tank team, of the conference. Most times, we take a look at what's going on, all right? We try to sense what things are like, in the society at a point. And then from there, we carve, we choose to address a need, so to say. So that is what influences, the theme. And of course, yes, being a Christian, I asked the Lord too, what would you like us to focus on? And for this year, the Lord says the power of vision. So my expectation with the conference this year, considering the theme, is that someone walking into the conference's venue next week, Saturday, the 20th of January, would live with clarity of thought and soundness of mind. There will be like a fire, like an ignition, lit in them, just helping them to being able to gain perspective as to what they should be doing, with their lives.
Who are the kind of people you are looking for? In my head, just a second. Please don't give me that every...
I actually just wanted to say you are invited.
The point, there are, especially in urban Nigeria, the concerns are so genuine, undeniable, so poignant, so strong, so impressionable, so unavoidable that it definitely doesn't just blur vision, it takes it away. The only thing in your line of sight is the problem right there in front of you.
You're right.
Keeping you away from seeing whatever vision anyone is going to show you or seeing anything different from what is your current reality. And I'm speaking about that particularly because of my concern for the young. I say to anyone who cares to listen, the next 10, 15, 20 years is going to be very, very problematic in the world if we don't get right the concerns, the interest, the pressure of young people. So what would be the spur, the reason for them to be at this conference, for instance?
Okay, let me take you from the direction you started from. Who are those that the conference is meant for? Specifically speaking, the conference is designed for young professionals and young adults, specifically speaking. But of course, yes, over the years, we've had, I've been on channels practically every year. Channels been supporting us, have had parent watch and then come into the conference's venue, with their children, right? The spur that they would need, to your second question now, to be in there, is just there. Take a look at the arrays of speakers that we have. And I dare say that every year, year in, year out, we carefully crafted and, you know, select these speakers. These are people who are who have walked the talk or who've gone through the journey, who have tangible proofs or evidences, you know, to show, you know, for what their life currently constitutes. And without a doubt, anyone who is watching right now or who wants to be at the venue, the thought of that alone should be an encouragement to say, I've heard something about this person, or I know about this person, or I should be at this conference, just such that I could be able to hear from the horse's mouth what this person has done, you know, to bringing them to the level which they are in at right now. And let me also say this to that. Because of how long the conference has been holding, there are people who traditionally can't and won't miss the conference for any reason. As a matter of fact, our volunteer base, we recruit them from most times fresh attendees who, take for example, this 2024 edition, someone's walking in, gets so transformed, gets so blessed, gets so inspired, and sees other people serving. They begin to reach out and say, next edition, I also want to serve. You know, because, I mean, the conference fee is free, right? So they also see that as an opportunity of being able to pay back. So by and large, whoever is watching or whoever that will be attending, the opportunity, because it's not every time, just like I said earlier on, this perhaps, to the best of my knowledge, the only individually held, you know, inspirational and empowerment platform of this magnitude in this nation, as it were. So then you have the opportunity of being seated in the same room where you have these arrays of speakers and being able to listen to them and hear their journey, you know, and then be able to carve something out of your own life too.
Okay, can you just name some of the speakers lined up for this year?
Yeah, this year would have an Godman Akinlabi. That's I think he was on this show a few weeks ago. He's actually a mentor of mine. That's the global lead pastor of Elevation Church. You have Joyce Awoshika. You have this guy, Tunde Onokoya. Tunde does, and you know, incredible things. Goes to the slums, you know, the Makoko, Oshodi on the bridge, picks up the less privileged, you know, pull them through, you know, chess, playing, and all of that. Oh. You have Aproko Doctor, who's dedicated his life, you know, to social interventions, using the power of technology to better enlighten, you know, and educate, you know, people on the need to be conscious of their health. You have Esther Lunge. All right, Esther is also a very solid lady, a powerhouse. You have you have Tunde Adisa. That's a gentleman who was an honorable member of Oyo State House of Assembly. I think you have what else do you have on there?
I can see from your flyer you have about 8 speakers.
Yes, we have 8 speakers. Joyce, Tunde, Esther, Morenike Molein. Yes, Morenike Molein is there. Ngozi, Henry Ngunadi, NHN. That's also a very phenomenal person. And now, it may interest you to know that of these speakers, have I met any one of them in person? Okay, aside from Godman Akinlabi, I haven't met anybody in person as I speak right now. That's how powerful this conference is. That's how powerful this conference is. So it got to a point because of how long, you know, the conference is held. I've exhausted, you know, my own networks, and I had to be reaching out to people who have solid people in their networks. So could you please, my team would say, okay, so Peter, let's consider this person, let's consider that person. Then I begin to look for someone who knows them. So these gentlemen and women, you know, who are on the platform for this year, for example, I'm going to be meeting them for the very first time next week, Saturday.
Okay.
You know,
which is when this conference is held.
Yes.
Saturday, the 20th of September.
20th, yes.
I see that you have a website. For those who want to go there, what is it?
Yes, for registration, yes, we do have. If you're watching online and you want to be part of this, what you need to do is to visit any of our social media platforms. That's Lofty Heights NG Lofty Heights NG, Lofty Heights NG on Instagram, on Twitter, and just click on the link there, or my own social media platform, Wale Tejumade. Once you click the link in there, you'll see register, for Lofty Heights Conference 2024.
Okay. So, it's interesting that you put these things the way you have put them, because a number of people are actually wondering. Now, you have told us what the conference is about, and the primary objective is to dispel the misconception that vision is an elusive concept.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, because, apparently, speed is useless without direction. Speed is useless without direction. If there is no picture, if there is no image, if there is no destination at heart, which is what vision is about, everywhere you get to will seem like your destination. If I leave this spot right now and I do not know where I'm going, and I hop on a bus here, maybe heading to, say, Lekki, for example, and I do not have a particular destination at heart, practically all the stops that the bus is going to make will seem like my own stop. All right? So what vision does for you is to give you a sense of direction for life, a sense of purpose, a sense of clarity, a sense of confidence, direction, ability and capacity to knowing exactly what to do, and one of the things about this conference that I think I personally love also is the fact that though it's a formal gathering, the presentation is totally informal. I tell our speakers, please don't come with slides. Don't come and make presentation. All we've asked you to come do is, take a look at the people, pour out your heart to them, and tell them how you got to where you are. Don't tell us just about, the glories. Tell us also about the thorns. Tell us about the trials. Don't just tell us about the triumphs. And I think that alone helps to connect, the audience with the speaker. So because the speaker is speaking from the heart, bearing out his or her mind, someone in the audience is also paying attention, and then realizing, after all, I'm not alone. Okay. Things are not as bad as I thought, that they are.
So is it just an offline event, or is it also online?
It's what do you call it now? It's offline, basically. We're going to be streaming it. The streaming platform is only made available for those outside of the country.
Okay, so you have to be physically present.
Yes, you'll have to be physically present.
How about those who register from within the country but who are in faraway Cardinal?
They would be able to connect after the conference.
Okay.
Yeah. One of the reasons why we do that is because, there's an apathy for attendance, at meetings, of recent, since post-COVID, as it were. Even to church gatherings, I'd rather just sit, someone would say, I'd rather just sit back in my house, and then watch, right? Mm-hmm. So we are not trying to encourage that, because this conference is pre-COVID conference where we were not streaming, we were not doing anything, and you had people moving from across the country, the north, the south, the east, from Benin, Ghana, people moving from outside Nigeria just to attend Lofty Heights Conference. Yeah. Okay. So we would like to still sustain that. So my encouragement to people, everyone watching, is to be there in person if they can make it.
Okay. So how do people register to attend?
Yeah, so I alluded to that earlier. All you need to do is to visit any of our social media handles at Lofty Heights NG. Lofty Heights NG on Instagram, on Twitter, and just click on the link there. It's quite very... X, yeah, thank you, ma'am. X, right? Yeah. Okay. So click on the link there, or visit at Wale Tejumade on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and just click on the link. You'll see...
that's on Saturday the 20th, which is next week. Where is it taking place?
It holds at Pistis Hub, Maryland. Just Maryland Junction here in Lagos here. And the time is 9 a.m. We're very strict on the timing too. So 9 a.m. we'll take off.
How many attendees are you expecting?
We're looking at about 2,000 attendees.
That's quite a number.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. It is.
We have to wish you the very
On
best,
ground, yes.
Dr. Wale Tejumade.
Thank you.
And trust that next year it'll be testimonies.
I really hope so.
Dr. Wale Tejumade is the convener at Lofty Heights Conference. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Auntie Alera. Thank you so very much.
All right. Now for Alero's scare moment after this break.
Rising, keep it high, rising, rise. I don't care who you are.
Guys, let me just expose Alero this month. She's already almost palpitating. Hey, blood awareness. Oh, I expose you publicly.
Go ahead. Enjoy yourself.
Well, certain months of the year, it's Blood Awareness Month. I think it's in the US this year. January is the Blood Awareness Month. And we have a consultant hematologist here, who is also GM of the Lagos State Blood Transfusion Service, Dr. Bodri Shikomaya. Thanks for joining us this morning.
I don't even know what to say. Okay, I'll look this way then.
You saw it too, right? I thought I was the only one. So,
thank you very much for having me today.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. Yes.
So, you want to ask the question?
No.
First of all, tell us about this whole idea of blood awareness.
So the idea of this blood awareness came from other clients. We are trying to work with international best practices. And we noticed that some particular countries decided to have a blood awareness month. And why? Because usually in January, the number of blood donors reduces. We also noticed it in Lagos State.
Why?
Yes, first of all, for Nigeria, the reasons are different. For Nigeria, Lagos in particular, which the multi-ethnicity states, many people travel back to the villages for holidays. If they do not go back to their towns for holidays, they're staying at home trying to rest. So people just want to rest out that month. There is no urgency in wanting to give blood. Apart from that, you know that January, December is a month of Harmattan. The weather changes. People come with lots of respiratory illnesses. So even if they want to donate, once they come to the blood center and we notice that they have one form of respiratory illness or another, we defer them for a while until they are better. And then the third thing is there's just this feeling that I've not started work. Blood donation is work. And I don't want to donate blood at the beginning of the year. I see donating blood is a...
will affect their fortunes.
Yeah, you know. No, not at the beginning of the year. I don't want to start my year blood donation. So it's just about, first of all, as I said, the holiday, the Yuletide season. Number 2, illnesses. Number 3, myths and cultural beliefs. And really, it's becoming worse every year. I was reading sometime last week the declaration by American Red Cross where they said that they have had 40% reduction in their blood donation. And that is in America. So you can imagine what is happening down in a country like Nigeria that is under the low to middle income countries.
But there has been awareness about donating blood.
Yeah.
In the not too distant past. Hasn't there been an improvement in the number of people who come forward to donate?
Well, honestly, it depends on the sets of people. So when we talk about awareness, there's an improvement in the numbers of voluntary blood donors. Very little increase.
Okay.
But I'm not seeing an improvement in the reduction. I'm not seeing a reduction in the numbers of commercial donors. So that's in the line of that. So because if they are going to have an improvement in one aspect of donation, there has to be a reduction in that aspect of donation that we are not interested in. So some people still want financial remuneration for blood, and we do not encourage that. Because people that desire financial remuneration, they lie about their status before donating blood. Their blood ends up not being very safe for transfusion. That is on one aspect. Also, on the other aspects, though...
But you normally test the blood before you use it, don't you?
Yes, we do test the blood before we use it.
So even if they have lied, you find out.
But it's wastage of consumables, wastage in the blood itself. It's better if we have a safe donor than to have an unsafe donor that will spend so much money ensuring the blood is safe. No, I was, on the other hand, apart from the donors, we are beginning to have more specialized surgeries. We are having better diagnostic equipment and technology coming up. So the usage for blood has also increased. Here we are having cardiac surgeries, transplants. We are having more cancer patients having access to chemotherapy and care, needing blood support. We're also having more chronic renal failure patients around that they need blood during their dialysis. So apart from the fact that the numbers are not so impressive, the numbers of people needing blood for specialized healthcare reasons are also increasing.
Okay, well, you will come and pay money to talk about your organization, but you're here to talk as a hematologist. So that...
I'm here to talk about awareness.
So that we can send you the bill.
Not just as a hematologist.
But you know, first of all, talking about blood.
Yeah.
People think blood is red. And there is only red blood that is blood. First of all, educate us about that one. Because once anyone sees something red, others, it's blood. Meanwhile, so help us understand why that is and what is blood.
So we are not far from the truth. Actually, blood is red.
Okay.
When we talk about blood, blood has different components in it. So the first thing is, if I cut it today, what comes out? Red. Should I cut you? Should we do a practical example?
Well, yes, you have to.
Your equipment is not here.
No, so she can decide to bite, and I don't want that.
No, I don't want to bite.
She's not a vampire.
But really, when we talk about blood, when you see blood anywhere, the first color you see is red. But it consists of so many things. So within that red liquid, we have the red blood cells, and that is where the red color comes in. But apart from that, we have the white blood cells in it. They're parts of blood. We need it. We have the platelets, which are also whitish to creamish. Also, and then we have plasma, where all these red cells, the white cells, the platelets, where they are. So there's a saying that says 1 unit of blood can save 3 lives. For us to maximize the use of blood, once blood is collected in that bag, we can process the blood and separate it to different components. So the red cells carry oxygen. When someone is bleeding, they need it to ensure that all the essential organs are kept alive. We have something called the platelets. We remove it as platelet concentrates. They help to ensure that blood you don't continue to bleed. It helps to ensure that the blood is kept within the vessels in the clotted way. Okay. And then we have the fresh frozen plasma, which comes in different forms too. It can come in the form of what we call cryoprecipitate. All they do is to ensure that blood clots. It has coagulation factors in it. And we have the white cells. Some people, they use white cells for conditions where the white cells are very reduced. Though we also have we have other forms of it. So now the most common usage for blood is in form of red cells, in form of the platelet concentrates, and in form of the fresh frozen plasma. It's also good to mention that also from this blood, we have something called blood derivatives, where we have the... So it's not just... So when we say... I'm just trying to answer your question that when we say blood, it's not just that red blood. It has different components. You can get different things from it, and every part is important.
What's the percentage of the red?
The percentage of the red is about, it goes to about 50% of the blood there.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, so there is a lot more that we don't see.
There's a lot more that we don't see.
Okay. Wow. Now, you talked earlier in answering Alera's questions about safe blood.
Yes.
So what it sounds like to me is that there are people who go around now with blood in their bloodstreams, but they are not safe because their blood is not safe. Is that what you're saying?
Well, when blood remains in you, it can be safe for you. So when we talk about blood safety, it's not just, it starts from the person giving the blood. We encourage voluntary blood donors. And then we go on to the testing of the blood. We test for HIV, we test for hepatitis B, hepatitis C, we test for syphilis. And in recent times, some of our doctors have been requesting for malaria testing before we issue our blood for some particular sects of people. After that, we talk about the processing of the blood. Blood must be compatible with another person. So a blood might be negative for all those infectious agents, but it's not safe for another. And that is where the blood group types comes in. So someone that has a blood group A cannot take blood from someone that has a blood group B. It's all part of the blood safety. And it's an opportunity to tell you what the Awareness Month is about. This year's Awareness Month theme is you are somebody's type, donate blood. So we need to do that compatibility test as a grouping and cross-matching. That is the word. You do the grouping and cross-matching to ensure that even though the blood does not have infectious agents, that blood must be good enough for transfusion. Apart from that, safety also talks about the storage of the blood. Blood must be in cold chain. You cannot take blood and keep it at room temperature, especially at the red cells, and expect that it is good for transfusion. At that period, you can have bacterial infections there. You could have it being lysed. So the blood safety involves so many things. Everything that is done to ensure that that blood is good enough for the recipients.
You know, something just crossed my mind now. You say you can't take blood and keep it at room temperature.
Yes, it's really the red cells. So
yeah, well, blood.
Because you can't separate it yourself.
We give it to you. We're giving you blood, so you can't keep that blood at room temperature, right?
Yes, it's not.
But when it is inside my body, it is warm.
Yes, so that's why I said it's at that time it's in your body. Your body is already working on it.
Yes.
Your body has mechanisms to ensure that it is kept in the right state.
Okay.
But once it is out of the body, it must be at some particular temperature.
What temperature?
2 to 6 degrees centigrade.
Like inside the freezer?
Yes, no, not freezer.
Fridge.
We call it blood bank refrigerators. We have specialized refrigerators that keep blood at that temperature until it is ready for transfusion into somebody else that needs it.
Okay. Now, from what age to what age is one supposed to give blood?
So in Nigeria, we have it between 18 years old and 65 years old.
I can donate.
You can donate, yes.
So you can still donate?
You will donate.
Yes.
We have been on this for years.
As I was saying. Does it expire?
But of course, it depends on the type of anticoagulant you use to store blood.
Speak English, please.
Okay, so blood must be stored. So blood must be stored in some particular chemical. Once it is out of your body, blood must be stored in some particular chemicals for it to be alive, those red cells. So once blood is in your body, you know the body has ways to keep the blood in and alive for the usual 120 days. So the lifespan of blood in anybody, in your body, in my body, is 120 days. Immediately you donate blood, you must keep that blood in some specialized chemicals until it is ready for transfusion. That is what we call anticoagulants. It prevents it from coagulating. Yeah, so anticoagulants prevents it from coagulating. So depending on the type of chemicals that helps to keep those blood alive, it depends. That's how you know the lifespan of the blood. So what you use regularly, blood lasts for 35 days. So in your body, the blood will last for 120 days. Once it comes into that blood bag...
What do you mean 120
I'm
days?
wondering.
Yeah.
This blood has been in my body since I was born.
No, your bone marrow is working every day. Your body is destroying the old cells every day. And your bone marrow is making new cells every day.
So how does the blood come out of my body?
I wonder.
So once it is old enough, the liver, the kidneys, everybody works together, the bone marrow, to ensure that that blood is broken down. And that's why we say that if you do not give out the blood, your body will help to destroy it, or mosquitoes will help to suck it.
So if...
Okay, why are you looking for the question? What are they? Are you just went there?
I don't understand this.
What are the lifestyle benefits of blood donation?
Of course, the first thing is your bone marrow. You know, generally, your body every day every second is destroying old cells. At the same time, your body every day, every second is producing new cells. So if you donate blood, it helps your bone marrow to be more efficient in producing newer cells. I know that new cells are younger, they are more effective, they do the functions that it's expected to do, like take blood oxygen everywhere, remove excreted products where you need to. So it gives your bone marrow the opportunity to be more efficient. The second thing is we have a lot of studies that says that regular blood donors have a lesser incidence of cancers. They have a lesser incidence of developing cardiac diseases like stroke. So it's a very, very good one. The third thing is, especially for places like Lagos, that's a lot of mental stresses, regular blood donors are known to have a lesser incidence of depression or anxiety. Generally, mental health disorders is lower in them. You know, giving blood is an altruistic effect. You do it out of, you just want to help somebody. So voluntary donors do not have mental health issues.
In that case, there's not enough awareness.
Yes.
If people knew all these benefits, you wouldn't be screaming that you didn't have enough donors.
That is why we are doing this, that we have made every January the special month for donor awareness. Apart from that, there are some other things you should know. Once you come for a blood donation, you have a myriad of free tests. So you do a free test. Nobody wants to spend money in the hospital. So just come in for your free test. If you are eligible to donate blood.
What kind of tests?
You have your blood pressure being checked, your pulse, your weight, your temperature. You have the HIV, hepatitis. You have your HIV, hepatitis, as well as your syphilis test being done. And so we are also given a long list of questions. We have been able to diagnose illnesses. So blood donation helps you to uncover illnesses you don't know. For example, somebody came to donate blood and was looking very tired. And I asked, why are you looking tired? I said, I've not been sleeping well. I've been easing myself at all times. We were able to run a quick glucose test there and realized that person was diabetic. And so it helps you, because you're coming to a health environment, it helps you to discover illnesses you don't know. We have other conditions like polycythemia, where you have so much blood in you. Polycythemia means you have too much blood in you.
Too much?
Yes.
It's possible to have too much blood?
Yes, it's possible to have too much blood in you.
How?
So, well, the body just continues to produce.
So how do I get rid of it?
So you have to see the hematologist. You come to see us. We want to be sure that it is not because of a normal thing. But people that are saying high altitudes could have a high blood level. But so we want to rule out all those things. I want to also ensure that it's not a form of cancer. So there are some sorts of cancer that comes with a high blood level. And so we do a lot of investigations, ask a lot of questions. So all those are special benefits of donation. And the most amazing thing is you get a donor card. When your family member needs blood, you can have blood without the need to replace it. So if I'm a voluntary donor, I should be rest assured that my family member can have access to blood when they need it.
Blood, you should be able to read blood.
Okay. that is not the word.
Okay.
That
You shall reap what you sow.
Yes.
So let me ask you,
Yes.
could it be the scare or the fear of, hey, they will see this one, they will see that one, that some people don't come out to donate blood?
Well, the funny thing is there's a fear there, but we've had some studies being done, and we realize that there are quite a lot of myths about it. The first and the commonest reason is the thought of the people do not have it, that I don't even have enough blood because of the economic situation, that, oh, there's a lot of stress, I need my blood to be effective at work, to jump the bus. So even without checking, they just assume that they don't have blood. The second reason is the belief that people have believed, like people believe that females do not donate blood. So we are beginning to demystify that. We have another one that, especially with the Gen Zs, we have a lot of youths that give blood. So there's this myth that if you have multiple piercing or if you have tattoos, you cannot donate blood. And we are there to demystify all those things. And we have some very funny ones. I'll tell you that if you donate blood, then you cannot procreate, you cannot reproduce and have children. So there are so many myths. So this is an opportunity to demystify all those things. On that, the scare part, people are afraid of needles, including me. I do not like needles. So when it's I'm just like, and then, you know. Yeah. So, but we just encourage
some
that.
Some people just enjoy needle in their body.
Yeah, some people.
They just enjoy.
I agree.
Just.
I agree.
Anyway.
I agree with you.
I don't actually. I can't stand.
Yeah, so
I don't take injections.
why? Well, that is another
scared.
time.
Okay.
Because a friend of mine had an injection and had an abscess.
Oops.
So
That's a misnomer.
well, for me, that's normal. Yes, I was going to ask you. So how long does it take for the blood to replace itself in one's body? So if I donate blood today, how long will it take me to have 8 pints again?
So within 24 hours, your body begins to reproduce your blood.
Begins to?
Yes, starting
When does
from
it
your
when does the factory fully produce?
starting from your starting from your plasma. I know blood is a fluid. I like to be start this discussion that red cells, is blood really just red? So we know we have the plasma, we have the white cells, we have the platelets. So within 24 hours, your body begins to manufacture the plasma, which is equally very important. Within 72 hours, your white cells are being replenished. Within 2 weeks, all your other cells are there. So I usually tell everybody that within 2 weeks, you should be rest assured that your red cells are being formed already.
Okay. So within 2 weeks, you're back to normal?
No, but immediately you're back to normal, really. Your body, we don't take excess. We take excess from you. So by the time we are taking excess from you, your body has enough already. So it doesn't really make a difference.
How much do I need in the body and how much...
So every adult...
How do you know that you have too much blood?
Yeah, so every individual, especially adults, you have about 5 liters of blood in you. That's about 10 sachets of pure water. It's easy to use such. So you have about 5 liters on you. So once you do the blood test, we have a cutoff. So it's only when you have more than that 5 liters.
5 liters.
How do I know that?
So
we will check. So we do a
bottles.
blood test. Yes, 5. So 5. So we do a
one bottle
blood
of beer
test.
is 1 liter.
No, you don't have to think about it. So is it 1 liter or is it 500
that's
ml?
the way I can, visualize it. So 5 beer bottles.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay. So we'll do a blood test before you collect your blood.
Okay.
So usually we use the hemoglobin level of the packed cell volume. So if you use what we call the hemoglobin level, which shows you the level, the cutoff is 12.5 grams. With 12.5 grams, it shows that you have at least 5 liters of blood in you. So it is only when it is above,
right?
Which is
8 pints?
No, 1 pint is about 500, so that's about 10 pints.
10 pints.
Yeah.
Okay. Dr. Bodrin Oshukumaya, thank you for coming here this morning. I'm the one asking the questions. Thank you for coming here this morning and for... You're not scared this morning? Thank God.
No, she didn't scare me today.
Today?
Today.
Okay. Dr. Bodrin Oshukumaya is a hematologist as well as GM Lagos State Blood Transfusion Service. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very, very much.
So, as they say, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
We thank you very much for staying with us this morning, and we hope that you will give us time of day again next Saturday when we bring you a fresh edition. I am Alera Edu, wishing you all the best until then.
The wrap is not my wrap or anything like that, but have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I'm Ayo Makinde. Bye for now.